This week on the show, Shane and I are discussing Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis in Todd Phillips' 2010 comedy Due Date. This is Boy Party.
That was William Shakespeare. Have you heard of him?
Yes, I've heard of Shakespeare. He was a famous podcaster. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of Boy Party, the podcast about movies where what is the line? Where two movie stars shared the screen and battled it out for... I've blanked. It's funny. I've blanked. Anyway, welcome to the show. It's Boy Party, and Shane Kelly is my co-host. He's the guy in the car driving me crazy. How do I normally do this? I can't remember. He's the eccentric actor giving me a ride, and we're carrying
True,
his dog in the car.
But I think, in reality, I think we'd be the other way around.
Yeah, we will be the other way around.
Yeah.
I know. This movie is so good that it's thrown me off, and I've done the intro for the podcast wrong.
Yeah.
We're doing Due Date this week, folks. Due Date. How do you say the word due?
When's it due?
You say Jew. Okay.
When's it due?
So there's three ways.
When's it due is very American to me.
There's three ways to say the word. Jew, like the Jewish people.
Yeah.
Jew, like kind of D-E-W, like dew on the window.
Grass, yeah.
Jew. And then there's do. Now, I've started to say do in order to overemphasize that I'm not saying Jew, which is making me
current
sound...
political climates are affecting how we perceive
it's making me...
early
I don't want to
2010s
sound like an anti-Semite, so I'm saying do... overdoing the do, and that's making me sound like an American.
Yeah, you can't be going around saying the due dates.
Due date. So welcome to their Due Date episode. This is our second Todd Phillips film. Todd Phillips is the only director, bar one, that we've covered multiple films by on this podcast. Yep. Can you remember who the other director is?
Billy Wilder?
Quentin Tarantino. Right. So our hallowed hall of fame of returning directors is now Tarantino and Todd Phillips. Two very cool guys I like a lot and only make good films.
Two quintessential boys.
They do make movies for boys.
They make movies for boys.
Due Date is the most movie for boy I've ever seen. In not all bad way.
No.
This is Todd Phillips's big fuck off follow up to the first Hangover. This is a very much, and the dates line up. Nolan being like, I'll do The Dark Knight if you give me, I'll do The Dark Knight Rises if you give me Inception in between. This is Todd Phillips doing the exact same thing. I will make Hangover 2 if I can make something else. Now, he didn't use that opportunity to make something particularly ambitious.
Like this is
he just made kind of Hangover 1.5. This is just like
this is the Hangover scaled down with less people.
It's just like, what if he made a Hangover type movie with like the most expensive actor he could get?
Yeah,
that's kind of the only ambition or like scaling up in this project is that he gets Downey Jr. to star. Otherwise, it's just kind of like he may as well have just gone and made the Hangover 2 because like it's the same scale of movie.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy that the Hangover 2 is, in my opinion, so terrible when he made a pretty decent film right beforehand. It's like you'd think he'd have like carried over some of the quality of this into the Hangover 2, but then he bounces back with Hangover 3. So
maybe the success of this is through its limitations.
Maybe. I'm trying to recall now, is there another Phillips between 2 and Hangover 2, Hangover 3? I don't think there is. No, there isn't. So he goes Hangover 2 and Hangover 3 after this, then War Dogs, because War Dogs feels like something he would have made before Hangover 3.
Yeah.
He makes War Dogs 3 years after Hangover 3, and then another 3 years passes.
War Dogs like 2016?
Yes. Then another 3 years passes and he makes Joker, and then another 5 years passes and he makes Joker Folie à Deux. He's really slowed down his rate of filmmaking.
What are you going to do?
This is a guy who was making like multiple films. Yeah, he was making a film a year in the early 2000s. But anyway.
I mean, his projects have gotten a little bit more ambitious with Joker.
They got way more ambitious, of course. And then Joker Folie à Deux, which is maybe the most like anti-ambitious film imaginable. Is this Todd Phillips's best movie? What do you think?
What else is... Did he do Hangover 3?
Hangover 3 is the only other contender, I think. Unless you're going to like stand up for Old School or
Joker 1.
Joker 1, School for Scoundrels, which I despise. Where are you at on the original Hangover? Most people like it.
Yeah, I think it's again, like I have a relationship with pretty much this era of comedy film where I experienced it almost entirely through just being on RTE when I was like 14 or 15, like when I was kind of like actively engaged with
Yes.
these films and kind of analyzing them as I do now and
Yeah.
whatever. So, like, I hated Due Date because I saw it on RT and I was like, this is a bit shit.
Interesting.
And I have it in my head somewhere that Get Him to the Greek is the worst film of all time, which is a film you kind of stand by to a very, very minor degree.
To a very minor degree.
But I think I had
Due Date's a lot better than Get Him to the Greek.
I had an incredibly poor reaction to these types of films.
Sure.
And The Hangover didn't upset me a lot because it was like, oh, it's moving around. It's more of a treasure hunt movie than
I watched all these types of movies on my iPod.
Yeah.
Because they were movies my parents wouldn't allow me to watch if in the living room on the TV. And obviously I was a bit too young to be seeing them in the cinema. So I would always download these kinds of like big hit R-rated comedies onto my iPod and watch them there.
I think I had a weird lingering feeling of like when I got old enough to like watch these things going from like 10 to 15 age that like I must have had it in my idea that as a 10-year-old that like, oh, adult stuff must be way funnier and way better because it's for adults and it's more sophisticated. And then I think I just grew into these films like, oh, adult comedies are a bit shit. Yeah. This isn't funnier than SpongeBob. Like,
it's definitely not funnier than the middle ground bridge from children's to adult comedies is like the Fockers films.
Yeah.
You know, those kinds of PG-13 comedies.
You are not...
This is not funnier than Meet the Fockers.
You're not exposed to a higher level of comedy by introducing adult themes and
You're just
violence
exposed
and
to
sex.
Masturbation, sex, jokes about the sex work, jokes about hard drug use, things that are, you know, very twisted
and in a lot of ways
up.
it makes the jokes lazier because you're relying on shock factor, whereas like kind of in more PG stuff
you have to be more creative.
You have to frame the jokes in a way that it comes across as like an intelligent gag. Yeah. You don't have that reliance on shock factor.
I think the problem with Due Date, which I do like, and I'll get to the bits I like about it in a minute, but the thing that's the problem with it is like the most obvious mismatched road trip comedy you could ever possibly make. Like it is doing so little to divert from the planes, trains, and automobiles template that so many films have followed, and so many films have been more creative with interpreting. Just there is a straight guy, there is a silly guy, they are in a car together. It doesn't diverge from that at all. Like it doesn't have a particularly unique hook. You look at the poster, you're like, there's two guys, one is making a silly face and one is making a serious face. And the film isn't like, but they're actually this. There's nothing else to it. Like it doesn't
I guess
get
the hook
any
is
deeper.
that Jack Galifianakis is his particular type and it's kind of this, not a new type of character, but he's like...
But like you could just make this film with any, you know, straight man movie star and any silly comedy actor, and I don't think the script would need to be changed much at all.
Yeah, just plunk Will Ferrell in there and someone else.
It could be Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell. It could be
it's just the other guys.
It could be fucking Tom Cruise and any comedy actor. You can do a gender swap. You could do Identity Thief with Jason Bateman and Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, Melissa McCarthy could be in this easily.
Easily. I mean, Melissa McCarthy and Jack Galifianakis are very similar.
It's like The Heat. Like this is just a classic comedy setup.
So the fact that it's the road trip like obviousness and the obviousness of the pairing of the two types of men, I just feel like this movie does not have any unique hook where, like, if you were giving people clues about this film and you couldn't name the actors involved, it would be very hard to discern which of, like, 12 movies you were talking about because there's so little that is unique to this film. But, with that said, I think it is a pretty solid and successful version of that type of movie compared to similar films, and that is largely down to the fact that I think that both of these guys are really funny and like commanding the screen for 95 minutes more so than the Jason Batemans and Melissa McCarthy's of this world. People I do like, but I think that Downey and Galifianakis are like uniquely fun and watchable guys.
Yeah, like Galifianakis for being kind of pigeonholed as a comedy guy has a bit of, I don't know, say dramatic range, but like he's got
he's able to play the different sides of this guy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Who's a bit of a tragic figure, whose father has just died, seems to be pretty much alone in the world, and is a delusional budding actor just trying to force a friend.
Yeah.
And you know, there's actually kind of an interesting amount of gray area left, which I said to you kind of halfway through. Is he meant to be gay? And it's like the movie actually doesn't answer that question. Maybe because it doesn't want to have to deal with the complications of homophobia and like anti-gay comedy that would come with that. And like, the most you get out of that in this film is Danny McBride starts calling them slurs from behind his Western Union counter. But like the Galifianakis kind of actually puts a bit of like, I think, 3 dimensions into the role where you're like, oh, there's actually a lot I don't know about this guy, and I'm still interested in watching him, and the film hasn't answered every question I have. And I think that's down to the kind of performer he is, where maybe in Melissa McCarthy's case, well, I don't know. I love Melissa McCarthy when she's in films like this, but she's a bad example. But in another actor like this, honestly, Will Ferrell, I think everything would be put out on the table straight away with Will Ferrell, and you wouldn't be waiting to learn more about the character. In the other guys, in Daddy's Home, whenever he's playing the stupid guy, I don't think that he...
Even in Barbie and stuff, he's just...
Yeah, I don't think that he ever like leaves you wanting more.
No.
But anyway, Zach Galifianakis breaks out in The Hangover 1 year before this. And by the time this comes out, his name's on the poster beside Robert Downey Jr. As a co-lead, which is an incredible 1 year ascension to household name. And like what is absolutely justified in the sense that I, as a 12, 13-year-old who had not seen The Hangover, was completely familiar with this guy's shtick and knew exactly what to expect from him by the time Due Date came out. That might be partially down to the fact that I was a big Conan O'Brien viewer and like all those kinds of shows, and I guess he was probably on Conan a lot in 2009, 2010.
Are we into like internet meme territory here yet?
Yes, I think that his Hangover performance and look was already starting to populate my 2009 2010 Twitter feed.
Yeah, of him and the baby. The first one, him and the baby.
I think that was like a thing that was in newspapers they used to like put memes in the newspaper, you know?
Okay.
They'd like write a funny article in the sidebar and they'd use a picture from a movie. I don't know what I'm really talking about here, but I just feel like when I was 12, I was seeing pictures of Zach Galifianakis in The Hangover a few months after that came out in a lot of print media, and I can't really explain why that was, but I think The Hangover was a massive hit in Ireland, obviously internationally, but like those are the types of films that do really well here. We talk a lot on this podcast about how the female-led comedies do disproportionately well in Ireland.
Yeah.
But to a certain extent, back in the mid-2000s through the mid-2010s, these kinds of raunchy male-dominated comedies were also doing disproportionately well in Ireland, and it got to the point...
This was a film like groups of men could happily go to see.
The Hangover was making insane money here, and it got to the point where films like this were doing so well that on 2 separate occasions, in fact possibly 3, Will Ferrell was brought to Dublin to do press.
Yeah.
And they did an Irish premiere of Anchorman 2, a junket. They did, I think, the first Daddy's Home, and they definitely did Daddy's Home 2, Dublin premieres and junkets, because it became super worthwhile to bring those types of stars.
I remember Will Ferrell was on the Late Late Show.
Yeah.
The two,
they
himself
were on
and
a couple
Wahlberg
times.
Yeah.
It became really beneficial to bring those guys to Ireland because those kinds of comedies for adults were making so much money here.
4 million there for them, like if
probably.
Yeah.
So like I don't think that's the case anymore because I think that audience now just watches stuff on streaming. But,
absolutely.
And I don't think Will Ferrell would ever be brought to Ireland again for a reason like that. But it's funny that like Zach Galifianakis anyway was the most famous person in the world to me as a person who hadn't seen The Hangover. My main knowledge of The Hangover when I was 12 was that Justin Bartha, from My Beloved National Treasure, was in it, and that was kind of as far as my interest went. I didn't really know who Bradley Cooper and Ed Helms were. I didn't watch The Office, so Galifianakis' funny look was my main reference point in the year following.
But I still think you get a sense from back here in 2011 that the script isn't being written with an intention of going viral.
No,
which I think is infected a lot of kind of modern comedy that goes to streaming and stuff. This
film now would go. I mean, okay, this film now wouldn't be made with Downey. It would be made with someone one level below, like Wahlberg, and it would go straight to Prime Video.
Yeah,
and every single joke in it would be intended, as you're saying, to be screenshotted.
Can we get this into one frame and one line of subtitle at the bottom?
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate that that's the way that theatrical. Not even theatrical, feature-length comedy has gone.
Yeah, you cannot represent a man masturbating in a car beside you in one frame.
With his dog masturbating beside him. Exactly. The jokes in this are so complex and sophisticated. You couldn't possibly sum them up. Galifianakis has The Hangover out in June 2009, which is literally like his first major role. He's in small roles in What Happens in Vegas, Into the Wild, before that. June 2009. A month later, he's in G-Force. Which I guess I saw him in cinemas, so I guess I would have been familiar with him. Then he's in Best Picture nominated Up in the Air that December.
Up in the Air got a Best Picture nomination.
Yeah, Up in the Air was a big Oscar. Anna Kendrick, supporting actress nomination. He's in Youth in Revolt in January 2010, which is a really fun movie with Michael Cera. I don't remember how much he's in it, but That's in January 2010. Then in July 2010, this is when things are just kicking off for him. July 2010, he's in Dinner for Schmucks, which feels like a scene that was probably shot, tacked on once The Hangover came out. They were like, we got to get this guy in Dinner for Schmucks. He is the person we should have cast probably as the schmuck were he famous a year prior. But Dinner for Schmucks is good. Dinner for Schmucks can be a good boy party someday. It's Rudd and Carell.
Yeah.
It's good, and Carell does a good, like, how do I say this politely? He's playing a simpleton.
Sure.
And he's very good in it. And Galifianakis would probably not do as good of a job. But
no, because
his thing is a bit different.
Yeah, he doesn't play stupid. He just plays kind of eccentric. Innocent, naive.
This character's thing isn't that he's in Due Date, isn't that he's an idiot. It's that he's
just misguided.
He's misguided and has a naive perception of the world, I guess. Yeah. And then he's in this movie. It's kind of a funny story, which we watched the trailer for, which is like a real like cliche of a 2000s independent movie set in a mental hospital, and it's very
Matthew
quirky with Keir Gilchrist from Atypical and Emma Roberts, Viola Davis, Lauren Graham, Zoe Kravitz, Asif Mandvi, and as you said, Matthew Marr are all in this movie. Directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, who would go on to direct the wonderful film Captain Marvel. But it is it was probably shot before The Hangover, to be honest. Due Date comes out November 2010 and is a big November Warner Brothers release. This is sort of Downey's, I guess, second or third. So Downey's run, which I guess I'll go into in a minute, is Iron Man, Tropic Thunder, and then I guess he kind of takes a year out, and then Iron Man 2, and then this movie. So this is like probably the first or second movie that he was getting paid like the money he's on now, you know, because he was paid nothing for the first Iron Man. Tropic Thunder came out the same summer. So this is the first year where Downey is getting paid like $20 million a movie. Then Galifianakis is in Hangover Part 2. Then he plays Humpty Dumpty in Puss in Boots the same year as Hangover 2, which he's very good in. He's always good doing those kinds of roles. In similar fashion, a couple years later, he plays the Joker in Lego Batman. And he's very good. And it's obviously Will Arnett as Batman, Michael Cera as Robin, and Galifianakis as Joker. And
he's got
fun in that.
A good agent and good taste in stuff to do.
He does. For a number of years, he does anyway.
Yeah.
2012, him and Will Ferrell in The Campaign, which I think is like is the worst version of this type of movie. It's very weak.
Is it a mistake to have those two as co-leads?
The same thing. Yeah, I think maybe.
Is this the Zoolander 2 problem? Like?
Yes, I think it could be. But I also just think that it's like that movie's directed by Jay Roach, who made Meet the Parents, and he made Austin Powers. And I think if you're going to do a political satire, even in 2012, it needs to be more sophisticated than that. Like Bob Roberts, the Tim Robbins movie in the 90s, was doing a send-up of Republicans and their stupid, hokey beliefs. Far more sophisticated than what The Campaign does, which is really like, it's a political comedy for people who do not fucking vote in elections. Like, it's for people who are like, there's all politicians are stupid. And like, it's Farrell doing his George Bush impression 8 years after he got famous doing that, you know?
Yeah, there's no actual political gags there. It's just like...
And it's like a Bush thing that comes 4 years after Bush has left office. It's just it's pointless. And Galifianakis does not add anything to it at all, even though the role is clearly built after him. Because the character has a good name, Marty Huggins. Anyway, that movie...
He's kind of a soft, sweet guy.
That movie made $104 million.
Get your brooms out, because we're going to clean up Washington. I think that's his slogan.
Okay. Hangover 3 is then out in 2013. Then he plays Hobo Joe in the Muppets and Muppets Most Wanted. He's great as Hobo Joe. He's in a movie called Are You Here?, which I've seen. Then he's in Birdman, where he plays, I guess he's like the stage manager.
I think so, yeah.
And my only memory of him in that film, which I think about all the time, is pronouncing Martin Scorsese.
Martin Scorsese is here!
Which is like something I think about every time I talk about Martin Scorsese. It's really good.
It's a great joke.
Martin Scorsese. I don't remember a single other thing he does in that movie.
You don't need to. That's all you need from any film.
Yes. Unfortunately, he just gets lost in that film because like Edward Norton's there, Naomi Watts, Emma Stone. Like he's not even the fifth most interesting performance in that movie. Like,
you still remember one of his lines.
I remember one of his lines. There's more than can be said for basically anyone else in that film. This is when the movies that don't exist start. You're suddenly looking at the box office numbers dropping very low. masterminds.
No, is this a
Keeping Up with the Joneses?
Is this a symptom of screening?
No, but these are this is 2016. I think this is just when these types of mediocre films are losing steam. I've seen Keeping Up with the Joneses. This is a movie where a normal couple move in next door to a spy couple.
Yeah.
So the normal couple
I know this, yeah.
are him and Isa Fisher. Can you guess who the spy couple are played by? They're two sexy actors who look like spies. I don't know how else to describe it, but it also would be in a Zach Galifianakis movie that you've never heard of.
Fucking Ryan Reynolds, maybe?
No, one level down.
One level down.
Yeah.
Who was I thinking of a second ago? Ashton Kutcher?
No, will I tell you?
A level up?
Level down.
It's not Armie Hammer.
No. Yeah, kind of in the right direction.
Serious person? Go on, tell me. We're wasting
John Hamm and
Okay.
The wonderful Gal Gadot.
Oh, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Keeping Up with the Joneses. Myself and Sonia watched that
oh,
once,
jeez. Oh,
and
Jesus.
it was okay.
Oh, no.
He is in A Wrinkle in Time, the weird $200 million Ava DuVernay spectacular with Reese Witherspoon, which we mentioned.
Yes,
he's in
yes,
that.
yes.
He's in. He plays Mr. Link in the movie Missing Link, which I love. The poster of. I've never actually seen it, and he hasn't been in a single film theatrically released since then. I don't think he's in. Between Two Ferns, the movie comes out in 2019, which I watched at 2 a.m. one night while a goat was having a panic attack outside my house. He's in another animated thing. Then last year, he was the lead of the Apple original movie, The Beanie Bubble, about the invention of the Beanie Babies, where he had no beard and looked very freaky. He looked like Johnny Galecki from The Big Bang Theory.
Are we out of the business movies now? Are we done?
I think we're coming to the end.
We had Blackberry, Tetris,
There's a couple more to come.
WeWork.
Yeah.
Beanie Babies, Barbie.
I hope you're right.
That was a weird 2-year phase.
He's in multiple TV shows throughout this decade, the last decade as well, by the way. So he's the supporting role in this show with Jason Schwartzman called Bored to Death on HBO, which is pretty good with
so like a
Ted Danson. It's like a
10-episode drama, or is this?
It's like there was like 3 seasons of it's like a half-hour funny detective show with Jason Schwartzman and him. He's pretty good in that. And then he had his own FX show called Baskets, where I believe he played a clown of some variety. Chip Baskets.
And
it was co-created by Louis C.K. and himself. And it's about a professional clown, rodeo clown. And that show ran for 4 seasons, 40 episodes. And Louis Anderson, R.I.P., won an Emmy, I think, for it, or a Golden Globe or something. So that show was semi-successful. That was on from 2016 to 2019. So he was on TV for 4 years. And God, since then, I mean, he's been in 3 episodes of Big Mouth. And next year, he is going to be in the Lilo and Stitch live-action remake as one of the funny guys, one of the little alien guys that shows up. He's going to be one of them. And that's probably paid him a lot of money. And I can declare him officially, ding, ding, movie star career terminated. Just
wasted.
He's done. He's done. I don't think he's coming back.
Why is...
I think the generation of people who go to the cinema to see films with Zach Galifianakis are not doing that anymore, and I don't think that there's nostalgia for that era that's going to get him another...
There's not, but I think he's is he not a prime candidate for a fucking bound-back Wes Anderson appearance recovery?
Where are the bound-back Wes Anderson appearances? I mean, he's had a couple of years to get that.
Yeah, I know.
Did he affiliate himself with uncool filmmakers at a certain point, like Inarritu, when he should have been hanging out with Wes Anderson, and as a result, he's kind of...
he's hanging out with Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah, but Jason Schwartzman hangs out with everybody. I don't know.
Really?
I feel like he just isn't in the circle of cool guys.
He couldn't put Zach Galifianakis in queer,
You should be able to,
You
right?
should be able to,
But
absolutely.
Jason Schwartzman carries with him the integrity of his family lineage and the fact that he is the star of Rushmore, a beloved film.
Yeah.
Zach Galifianakis' beloved work amounts to a Best Picture winner that everybody thinks is crap now, and 3 comedies that are mostly him making transphobic jokes. Unfortunately, well, the Hangover films are just have not aged well. So as much as some of the stuff he's in is very funny, in some cases do date, I just don't think that there's a public adoration for Zach Galifianakis that is going to propel him
I don't know. To me,
era.
anyway, he seems to have avoided... Maybe he hasn't, getting stuck in the time period when he was most famous. I don't consider him as, some kind of oh God, I can't believe we used to dress like that. I can't believe that was our type of comedy at the time.
And I were discussing the fact that he represents a very specific type of millennial man.
Oh, absolutely.
In movies that you don't see very often. The guy who pops up on your TikTok saying, "Go to therapy, do the thing," and it's.
But I don't find it annoying, which is weird. I should find that.
Yeah. How would I describe this type of guy? It's like a slightly effeminate metrosexual straight man who wears flannel shirts, paints his nails,
flip-flops,
beanies, flip-flops.
He prances around with his kind of back arch a little bit.
Big into 80s genre media, obviously.
Yeah.
And is
carries
just
a little dog around.
Is harmless. But irritating.
Yeah.
Barbecues in the back garden. Harmless but irritating millennial men. And you don't see a lot of those in movies. If Chris Pratt hadn't gotten skinny, he could have been one. But he's too much of a military-looking man now. I think he's the right type in personality.
I don't know. Is he not a bit of a beefcake?
Yeah, he is now. I'm saying,
now,
but like in his Parks and Rec era, he could have been this kind of guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, Galifianakis is like the one guy who's like that. And look, I like that he was making big movies for a while, and he's not stereotypical looking movie star, but neither was John Candy, neither were any of these guys. You know, there's always one of these guys a generation. Like, did he get overshadowed by Melissa McCarthy like straight away? Maybe. Like maybe if she didn't come along, a couple of those films she was in would have been, you know,
Galifianakis
vehicles.
Do they appear together or nothing?
I feel like they have. Yes, she's in Hangover 3. She's in Hangover 3 as I think a love interest for his character.
She is.
In a couple of scenes.
Is it kind of a cameo?
Yeah, she's in it very little because she was already big at that point.
Sorry,
she
shows up. Does she show up at the very end? And
I think so.
What am I thinking of?
You're thinking of Central Intelligence.
I am.
She is in Hangover 3, but she's way down the cast list. She plays a pawn shop owner who Alan shows affection for.
Yeah.
They put her in it.
She does the Danny McBride thing from
it's the same. Well, it's also what Kristen Wiig does in Anchorman 2.
Yeah.
Where they're like, okay, this particular kind of weirdo needs a female weirdo to match his freak. And in Melissa McCarthy's obviously like the perfect match for Galifianakis.
Yeah.
Funny they never made an actual movie together, though. You wonder, did their agents keep them apart deliberately because it would be it would cancel each other out? Like,
again, is it pairing number two? Well, they're both leads, but like you can't.
Well, their energies would bounce off each other in the wrong way, like two left magnets or whatever.
It's too much. Yeah.
Anyway,
no contrast there.
His character in this film is a budding actor called Ethan Tremblay, which it turns out is a stage name. And how does he get involved with Robert Downey's character? And what happens?
Well, first of all, they bump into each other at the airport and seemingly have identical bags. Zach Galifianakis swaps his bag with Robert Downey Jr. for the purpose of sneaking through marijuana paraphernalia onto the plane, which Robert Downey Jr. gets called out for, and he gets mad and whatever. They end up sitting beside each other on an airplane, where Robert Downey kind of tells him to shut up, and Zach Galifianakis goes, "Why do I need to shut up? It's not like I'm saying terrorist or bomb or anything," which then proceeds to get the two of them kicked off a plane.
Very anger management style scene.
They do the anger management scene where an air marshal gets up and says, "Sir, relax, relax," and Robert Downey Jr. stands there pretty quietly until he gets...
We always love these scenes.
It's fantastic.
Beau is afraid.
Beau is afraid.
No, don't make me do this. It's always good when somebody's totally calm and someone is shouting relax at
and he gets he gets shot with a rubber bullet.
Yes.
And then everyone claps. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. And the two of them get put on a no-fly list. Mm-hmm. Robert Downey Jr. doesn't get his bags off the plane, so he has no wallet, no bag, yada yada. And he tries to rent a car, but he has no money, so Zach Galifianakis is able to rent a car, and he offers him a lift. And in his desperation, because Robert Downey Jr.'s wife is pregnant,
about to have her child
in Los Angeles, and they're traveling from Atlanta, which is
quite a long drive.
3-day drive if you're taking your time. They're trying to do it in 2, basically. And
couldn't he have just got the bus?
Take too long.
I don't know how buses work.
I don't think you want to rely on cross country, the Greyhounds. Like, he had no money.
Oh, true. He had no money.
Not
even for a simple bus. Well, they end up on the road together, and chaos ensues. It gets very extreme about halfway through when Galifianakis just fully conks out on the wheel and won't wake up, and they just have an enormous accident.
Drive off construction site. They drive off an overpass. Yeah,
and they end up in hospital. And then Downey Jr.'s friend Jamie Foxx comes and picks them up, And basically the only gag with this Jamie Foxx appearance is that all evidence is pointing to him having an affair with Downey's wife.
Yeah, which Galifianakis is kind of feeding to Robert Downey throughout the film, and he's getting more and more paranoid.
And Downey's wife is played by our beloved Michelle Monaghan.
Because Michelle Monaghan and Jamie Foxx used to date in college. That's the plot of this.
Yeah.
And they hang out every now and again.
So Galifianakis keeps making provocative comments about whether the baby's going to be Jamie Foxx's baby and all this stuff.
Yeah.
They drop in to see his drug dealer to get his medicinal marijuana, played by Juliette Lewis.
She has some kids who
apparently plays the same character in Old School.
Oh,
didn't realize
that's
that.
kind of funny.
Right. And Todd Phillips plays her partner, her husband, and he's in the movie for a minute. RZA plays the guy at the airport. They drop into Danny McBride at a Western Union, and turns out he's like a veteran in a wheelchair. They get into a fight with him, and Ethan's dream is to be on an episode of Two and a Half Men.
Yeah.
And I said to you, okay, this is obviously going to end with him getting on Two and a Half Men, because you don't mention a TV show in a movie unless the stars of that show are going to show up. And the final scene of the film is him appearing on an episode with Charlie Sheen and John Cryer. I think this was maybe 6 months before Charlie Sheen leaves Two and a Half Men.
They shot a good 2 minutes of Two and a Half Men footage there. So
it's like it's a real relic of the OG Charlie Sheen version of Two and a Half Men, and John Cryer with hair. The
other plot point in this is Zach Galifianakis has his dad's ashes.
Yes,
and he wants to spread them at the Grand
Canyon. The ashes are a fun prop. They're a fun high stakes prop.
It adds sympathy
but also the thing about the urn of ashes being kind of tossed around and put at risk is a constant source of tension. And then there's a scene where the ashes, Jamie Foxx uses the ashes as coffee, and Zach Galifianakis gets really worked up and upset about it, and it's actually very upsetting, because you're this poor fucking guy and his ashes. So that's the film.
There's a fake out at the end where Robert Downey Jr. runs into a birth room and sees a black baby on the on the table, and thinks it's his wife's, and then Keegan-Michael Key shows up and is like, dude, get out. And then he goes in, and the real baby is white.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good joke. We've never discussed Robert Downey Jr. on this podcast before.
Strange enough.
In 50-something episodes. Just kind of bounced off a few and never ended up doing any of them.
He's not in that much stuff, I guess.
He's very rarely sharing the fucking limelight with anyone else.
Yeah. We had this... Well, we could have done The Judge.
We could have done The Judge, maybe, if we... But Shane and I... The Judge, a movie I adore... we did a podcast on The Judge before. I might link it in the description. It's an episode of Where's the Damn Sequel from 2018, 2019, where we did The Judge. And we could have done The Soloist with Tim and Jamie Foxx. Yeah. And we could have done Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
We did watch that. And I think it was...
You went and took a phone call and didn't come back, so...
It was so bad we couldn't talk about it.
It wasn't so bad. It just didn't have a lot to discuss.
Yeah, we're getting Jamie Foxx and Robert Downey Jr.
We've done them both, Robert Downey Jr., the number 2 highest grossing star at the domestic box office ever, and the number 2 live action star at the domestic box office ever.
Behind Sam Jackson.
The number 2 behind Sam Jackson, and the number 3 star at the international box office ever, behind Sam Jackson and, behind Scarlett Johansson and Zoe Saldana. Fair play.
We should give out an award for making lots of money.
How is Scarlett Johansson gone above Downey in that ranking? I don't understand. What's she in that he's not? We're not talking about her this episode, but
he's higher than her domestic.
She's in Jungle Book, Sing, and Sing 2, and Lucy. Right. Okay. Interesting. I guess they're bigger than any of his non-Marvel movies. Well, anyway, Downey Jr.'s status as one of the biggest movie stars of all time is unfortunately mostly clustered around one character, which makes him a little bit uninteresting to talk about.
And his name is Dr. Dolittle.
Yeah, exactly. Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom.
As an actor that I do really like and enjoy and would basically watch him in anything, it's a pity that 90% of his work in the last 15 years has been...
it obviously has taken up a lot of his time and given him so much money that he's not really willing to...
No, and it's destroyed his career in the sense that even now he won't leave.
Well, he had one big performance last year,
though. But even that affirmation he received from his Academy Award win won't keep him away from Marvel slop. Do you want to guess what Robert Downey Jr.'s box office total fucking number is?
$17 billion.
It's I can't even... It's comically large. So have they split out the movies where he's a lead and the movies where he's a ensemble into multiple they have. So Oppenheimer is a separate. So that's 1.6 billion on top of 16.2. So you're up at 18 something billion.
Pretty bang on.
So you've got the Marvels at the top, obviously, multiple Avengers, multiple Iron Mans, then Oppenheimer, then Spider-Man that he's in. The highest grossing film of his that isn't Marvel or Oppenheimer is Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, followed quickly by Sherlock Holmes. Both made 535 million
Jesus
and 498 million. It is insane that Sherlock Holmes movies can make that much money. That is only because of Robert Downey Jr. I don't think Jude Law is contributing to that much at all, I'm afraid.
That's insane numbers.
It's weird that Jude Law is like the co-lead of those.
I feel like if they got the two of them back and did another Sherlock Holmes, I don't think that's crap. Really?
You don't? I think it would do 300. Like, I think people still like the idea of those films more than they actually like those films. I don't think anyone's rewatched those in years. The second one's terrible.
Yeah.
First one's all right because it has Rachel McAdams. Second one's very bad. A lot of Stephen Fry in that second one. And Jared Harris and just people I'm new me repace. I think if they made a third one, which they keep saying they will, I think it would do well. For some reason, Guy Ritchie won't stop making Lionsgate films with Hugh Grant and Henry Cavill, so they just kind of can't make it.
Yeah.
Like, he just won't stop. He's addicted to the Henry Cavill 30 million bullshit that goes to Prime Video. I think they will make a third one. I think it's like
it's real low hanging fruit.
It's the only thing they can do with Downey that will pay him enough that he will get out of bed for that isn't Tony Stark.
Or he just hates Jude Law, and
maybe he hates Jude Law. Jude Law seems to want to do it as well. Jude Law could probably do it, but also Jude Law's on a little bit of a hot streak right now, where his face is up everywhere around Dublin in just kind of a series of projects that have been released in close proximity. Anyway. His next highest grossing film after the Sherlock Holmeses is inexplicably Doolittle, which did $251 million and probably almost made a profit. That was like an interesting Better Man situation where it was like an Australian director and they did it in Australia. I feel like I'm right in saying that.
Did they do all the effects work in Australia as well, or is that outsourced?
I don't. No, in Better Man it definitely was.
Okay.
That was directed by Stephen Gaghan, who has literally like. I'm trying to see what else this man has made. He made Syriana. That's the guy who made Doolittle. That's so random.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Doolittle is a film that was being, I feel like, discussed my entire life of like, they're going to make a new Dr. Doolittle movie and it's going to be based on the book and who's going to be in it. And then Robert Downey Jr. decides to do it and it's just him talking to a bunch of animals and like one of the animals are voiced by like Rami Malek, Marion Cotillard, Emma Thompson. Doolittle's fine. It's not even that bad. It's like a 2-star film. It's nothing.
It's obviously silly enough that it got the kids market.
Surely
surely
that's January. Like, it was just an easy one. Like, due date $211 million. Brilliant performance.
Incredibly
for this film.
impressive.
Great. Well done to these two guys.
For a film that's almost entirely based on just like renting a car.
Exactly. Tropic Thunder, Gothica, Bowfinger, The Shaggy Dog, in which he plays the evil lawyer facing off against Tim Allen's dog.
Yeah.
Zodiac. He's great at Zodiac.
Yeah.
The Judge, 76 million. The Judge should have made a lot more money than 76 million. Like, that's
is a decent return.
The Judge is 2-3 years after Sherlock Holmes 2. Like, have people already lost interest in the Downey Jr. side projects by that point, or is The Judge just a really tough sell in 2014 because it's a movie?
Like, what was Clint Eastwood making in 2014?
American Sniper, the highest grossing film of the year.
Yeah, okay. I got you there. I know. I knew that was. I thought it was 2015. And I was like, shit.
No, like, there's no reason in a world where conservatives were showing up to see American Sniper.
Yeah.
That The Judge, a movie about how hard would it be if your dad was a different type of Republican to you, would not make more than 100 million. I don't know. With that incredible Robert Duvall star power. And the Vincent D'Onofrio, Jeremy Strong, Billy Bob Thornton.
Who directed The Judge again?
David Dobkin, director of Fred Claus.
Oh, David.
And Wedding Crashers.
Yeah.
He's in U.S. Marshals with Tommy Lee Jones. He's in Good Night and Good Luck, the Clooney movie. He's in Natural Born Killers. I'm just going down the list by box office, by the way. He plays Inez's first husband in 2014 in Jon Favreau's Chef, and he gets the and. Huh. I remember them really trying to pretend he was going to have a big role in that. Like Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson to star in Chef. And then he's in as two scenes. scenes. As we mentioned, The Soloist with Jamie Foxx, very good in the movie Wonder Boys with Michael Douglas, which I do really like. Air America with Mel Gibson, we watched that. That was nothing. That was a stupid planes in the war planes movie.
Air America. Oh, we did. It's like they're flying from Myanmar and Laos or whatever.
All that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Did we watch that in Michael's house?
We did watch that in Michael's house.
Why?
Yeah.
I can't imagine why.
It was on DVD, maybe.
Okay.
Or maybe I just heard about it and thought it sounded good. I don't know. He was also in the TV show this year. What's that show called?
The Bong Joon-ho thing?
Yeah. No, Park Chan-wook. The Loyalist? It's on the tip of my tongue. It's not The Survivalist.
Devoted, or I don't know.
What the hell's that show called?
We didn't watch it anyway, if you couldn't tell.
Robert Downey, The Sympathizer. Yeah, I didn't watch that show. He plays like a bunch of different characters and wears a bunch of different disguises in that show. He got an Emmy nomination. Nobody watched it, and I don't think he'll ever do TV again. He is currently on Broadway. Which is fun.
That's fun.
And the second he
Doing
finishes in a play.
Oh, not like something famous.
No, in a play that I will have to look up. But the second that he finishes that play, now we must also mention Oppenheimer. A year ago, he plays Senator. What's the name of the character in Oppenheimer? I feel like that's the most famous.
Yeah,
that's the most important thing in the movie. Like 1 billion times in that movie.
Yeah.
What the fuck's the name of his character in Oppenheimer?
It's on the tip.
Can nobody remember the name of the character in Oppenheimer?
The tippiest.
Of course, he plays Louis Strauss.
Oh, Strauss, yeah.
Louis Strauss. He wins. The play he's in is called McNeil, by Ayad Akhtar, and he's in it with Melora Hardin and Andrea Martin, and it finished in November. It ran from September to November this past year, the Vivian Beaumont in the Center. That would have been fun to go to. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he plays Louis Strauss in Oppenheimer. He's like second or third most important character in that movie. He's really fun in it. I don't think it was the best supporting performance in that film, as well documented on the show. That was David Krumholtz. But he is very good.
Yeah.
He wins the Oscar, which felt like, deserved, but also I was a bit sick of his shit by the time he won that Oscar, and he's annoying, and he just isn't he doesn't seem like a very generous person. He gets up to accept his Oscar, he doesn't even thank his father, and his father just died, and I'm just like, I'm kind of sick of your vanity. He made a good documentary about his father called Senior, which is on Netflix, and his father is an incredible filmmaker. Robert Downey, he made weird experimental American independent films. Putney Swope is the one I've seen that I really love. And he's really talented, and he obviously admires his father a lot. But he didn't make a particularly compelling Oscar speech about anything that I felt was of substance. He kind of just said, my life is great. I love being famous.
Yeah, I never saw him on the press tour for Oppenheimer. I was like, love that guy.
No,
he was always in kind of bright colored suits and
he's
riding hoverboards and wearing.
He's a bit of a Robbie Williams,
No, he's not.
No, I guess just in his flashiness. He's a dickhead. He's like a techie LA dickhead, rich guy. He's whatever. He's not really an artist. He's kind of a little bit hard to imagine that he had a big, kind of a little bit off the rails drug bad boy.
I know, he's
image so boring now. But I think that's what happens to these guys.
Robbie's a bit the same.
Robbie's kind of the same. But I think Christopher Nolan, who isn't an actor's director by any means, but has gotten good performances out of a couple of people throughout his career, obviously saw him and was like, he's still got something interesting in him. And he did get something interesting in him, although it is very kind of it's on the nose, everything he's doing in Oppenheimer is incredibly turned up to 10. He's very angry and he's shouting, and it's not
it's a nice departure from his ironic shtick.
Yeah, it's very different to everything he does in Due Date and Marvel, but it's not very. It's not
groundbreaking.
Any director could have gotten it out of him if they gave him the right,
script
basic kind of idea. Yeah. I don't know. And now, after his Oscar and his Broadway run, he is doing another prestigious project, playing Doctor Doom in Avengers Doomsday, which he showed up to Comic-Con to announce in what is the most depressing thing that happened in 2024. And you realize,
how do you go from heroin to cheering nerds?
I know. It's insane. I think he's addicted to his fans. And I don't think that anything other than Marvel will provide him with that. And that's why he's going to stick with this for the rest of his life. Until Marvel combusts, or he does.
Maybe he's a nice guy. We just don't know him very well.
I'm sure he's an okay guy. I mean, the drug addiction past makes him seem much more interesting to me than his movie star career.
Yeah, his his acting now never in any way reflects his kind of personal life.
No, not at all. The fact that he was crazy at one point is like the one thing that keeps me kind of curious about him.
Yeah.
This movie does...
otherwise he's Josh Brolin.
Yes, exactly. It is referenced in this film that Zach Galifianakis' character has a website called itsraining2.5men.com.
Yeah.
And I looked up this website and it takes you to the official due date splash page on the Warner Brothers website, which is nice that it still exists.
Do you think like Robert Downey Jr. had in his contract that every time that website gets a click, he gets like
Probably
$1?
I'd say he does, yeah. This film features songs including Mykonos by Fleet Foxes, Old Man by Neil Young,
music's a bit all over the place.
Amazing Grace by Rod Stewart, White Room by Cream, New Moon Rising by Wolf Mother, and Is There a Ghost by Band of Horses. It's a pretty good soundtrack. Yeah. Although the Fleet Foxes and Neil Young songs are not on the soundtrack CD, unfortunately. Will we do the box office? This movie was released on the 5th of November, 2010. We were in first couple of months of secondary school. I remember that happening. And it cost $65 million. I wonder how much of that went to Downey. In 2010, I'd say 15 went to Downey and probably 3 went to Zach. Mm-hmm. And it grossed $211 million. That is a profitable film. They never tried to make a sequel to it. I think that's for the best. I think they probably realized the Hangover movies were kind of the overarching franchise, and this was sort of a kind of a success that got kind of brushed in underneath. Oh, the poster is Downey and Zach with the desert in the background. Zach is holding the dog, and it says, "Due date, leave your comfort zone," which is a really meaningless title. Leave your comfort zone. And I don't think that achieves much.
It's a bad poster. It's really, really lazy.
You got that box office?
I do indeed.
All right. Hit me with that. Does this open number 1?
It does not.
Okay.
It does
so this
not.
is number 2.
It's pipped. I think it had a...
November 2010.
Had a 32 million opening.
Very good. It's pretty good. Okay.
And it was beaten by something that had a 46 million opening.
This same weekend.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is this animated?
It is indeed.
Is it Megamind?
It is indeed.
Very good film. Yeah, I think I remember talking about the week's movie releases in English class with Mr. Kelly, I feel like. And like these were the films that were out. And the Tony Scott movie, Unstoppable, which might be on this list as well. Very good. Megamind's good. Megamind good, but then people talked about how it was good a little bit too much. And they made a sequel and a TV show straight to Peacock without any of the voice cast. Anyway.
Next film has got a lot of names in this. We got Janet Jackson.
Great.
Tandy Newton.
Real stars.
Kerry Washington.
Is this
Tessa Thompson?
Is this like a black themed
Whoopi Goldberg? It is indeed.
Is this Four Colored Girls?
It's Four Colored Girls.
It's a Tyler Perry adjacent movie, I think.
Yeah, it is Tyler Perry.
That's a very good cast.
Yeah, it's fun. Open to 19 million.
All right.
Very good. First week.
Yeah. Never seen it. Very good.
Next up is I think something we discussed. It was mentioned on a recent pod for one reason or another.
Okay.
I think.
All right.
Because maybe someone was in it that we discussed.
Interesting. Do you have a tagline? Do you have any clues that might be of interest?
Still armed, still dangerous, still got it. You'll get this.
Still armed, still dangerous, still got it.
Yeah.
Still armed, still dangerous. So this is like old people action.
Yeah.
But it's not Red or Red 2.
It is Red.
Red came out in 2010. Oh, so it did. Yeah. It's Red.
This is a weekend, November 5th.
All right.
2010.
Yeah, retired and extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
Who did we discuss being in Red?
Did we do Morgan Freeman recently?
We didn't. We did Willis at a while ago, and we did Hopkins. No, we didn't. We haven't done Hopkins. We did Malkovich. God only knows.
Did we?
We did Malkovich. No, we didn't really talk about Malkovich and Burn After Reading. You're right.
Maybe we were just having a conversation.
Maybe we just talked about it in our own life because we do live in a house together. All right, keep going.
We're in the height of 3-dimensional technologies in movies.
What?
This is Saw 3D.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, it's a cool poster. Is that the poster with the statue being built?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool poster.
Or that looks more like a statue being destroyed.
Oh, well, I think they're building a statue to... Oh, sorry. No, there's another one where there's a big statue, like a big 10-foot tall statue of
the one I'm looking at is like a concrete
it's a bust being exploded.
Head being shot or exploded.
Yeah, no, that's not the one I'm thinking.
All right, next up, something in the Saw 3D realm of films. Sorry.
I don't know.
Paranormal Activity 2. I'm not going to make you guess that.
I would never have got that, yeah.
The next one is another 3D film with 3D in the name.
Another 3D film with 3D.
This is real people doing real things.
One Direction, This Is Us.
No.
Close.
It's about a gang of boys.
It's not the motorbiking TT3D.
No.
Closer to the Edge, narrated by Jared Leto.
It's similar to
Gang of Boys.
One Direction thing in that it's like real people playing themselves.
It's a gang of boys, but it's not a concert film.
No.
It's not a documentary.
No, maybe has some like documentary.
What the fuck? I need some clue of some kind.
A lot of practical stunts in this.
A lot of practical stunts in this.
Yeah.
Jackass 3D.
This is Jackass 3D.
Very good.
God, there's a lot of...
All right.
This is a BoJack Horseman movie.
Well, this is a BoJack Horseman movie. What does that mean? Secretariat, yeah. All right, enough.
Sorry, we got Hereafter, and then we'll leave it at The Social Network, because that's coming in at number 10.
All right, great. Good movie. We have another game to do very quickly. This is the 4 favorites game.
Oh, the 4 favorites.
I've picked someone on Letterboxd who has Due Date as one of their 4 favorites. And I'm going to get Shane to guess the other 3 of their favorite movies.
Right.
Today's lucky Letterboxd user is Yusef00. Yusef has basically no information on their profile, but
Yusef was 10 years old when they went to see this in cinema.
Yeah, probably. Based on these 4 favorites. Yusef's 4 favorite films. Due Date is their 4th favorite film, according to this. There are 3 other favorites. The first film, released in 2012. This is a film that...
Is he a comedy guy? Is Lucky Yusef a comedy guy?
Not exclusively.
Not exclusively.
This film was released in 2012. The tagline is Fight, Dream, Hope, Love. This film was nominated for multiple Oscars, won at least 1 Oscar. In an acting category.
$1 Million Baby or something?
2012.
When was that come out?
2004.
Oh.
Won a best...
is it The Fighter?
No. It's 2010. This movie won at least 1 Oscar for an actor. A person who acts.
Yeah.
This film I've seen. I gave it 4 stars. I might drop it to a 3 if I saw it again. The director of this film was director of a film we once covered on this podcast.
Can I get the tagline again?
Fight, dream, hope, love.
Is this a Kung Fu Panda?
No, it's not. This is a very serious film.
Oh.
How would a Kung Fu Panda film have won an acting Oscar?
I don't know.
2012.
Because the panda is very
Have you any hopes of getting this? Well,
you're gonna have to give me like a 3rd and 4th build. Like, is there? Have I seen this?
No, no, you haven't. The top 7 build on this are all going to give it away.
Oh.
All right.
Okay, so it's a big ensemble cast.
Big ensemble cast. 7 really famous people above the title. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it to do with boxing?
This movie is a musical.
Oh, it's a musical.
From 2012. It's an adaptation of a famous stage musical.
Shit.
The movie is musical as well.
Oh, I actually don't know.
All right. This film is Les Miserables. Okay.
That's a blind spot for me.
Yusef's 2nd favorite film is from 2014. This movie you have seen. I cannot read you the tagline. It will give it away. I've given this film 5 stars.
From 2014?
From 2014. The director of this movie has directed a film that we've covered on this podcast.
2014 5-star film.
Yes. This film has 5-star and 4.5-star reviews from basically every single person I follow on Letterboxd.
Is Whiplash?
No, it is not Whiplash.
Is that 2014?
It is, yeah. This is a different 5-star film from 2014.
What was the other 2014 big hits?
I can't read the tagline. I'm trying to think of another.
Can you give me like one person?
I give you one person. I'll tell you that Tilda Swinton is in this film.
Oh, okay. Shoot.
Well, I'll give you another one.
I think so.
Jeff Goldblum is in this film.
Independence Day Resurgence.
Nope.
No, Jeff Goldblum.
Tom Wilkinson is in this film. Léa Seydoux is in this film.
Did we discuss this recently? Because I feel like we've read out this cast list before. And
no,
I'm like,
we haven't.
This is like Ghost Protocol.
Willem Dafoe is in this film. All right, you're clearly not able to play this game today. This film is The Grand Budapest Hotel.
Sorry.
All right,
Jesus Christ.
Yusef's 3rd favorite film.
I gotta call that a wrap.
Yusef's 3rd favorite film.
Yeah, these are all normal films.
Yeah, Yusef. I gave you a really easy one.
You did.
Yusef's 3rd favorite film is from 2003. The tagline is A Roaring Rampage of Revenge. I've never seen it. It is by a director that we've covered on this podcast.
A Roaring Rampage of Revenge.
Yeah, 2003.
Is it a sequel of sorts?
No. It has a sequel.
It has a sequel.
Technically, yeah. It is 1 hour.
Is this like
51.
Punisher?
Nope. It's 1 hour. No, 1 hour and 51 minutes long.
Yes, no.
I'll tell you some people who are in this film: David Carradine, Michael Madsen, Michael Bowen, Kenji Oba, Sakishi Saito, Yuki Kazamatsuri. Has an average rating of 4.2, 56,000 fans.
Is this a
poster is
this
yellow.
An English language film?
No, yeah, it is. Yeah, this poster is yellow and
Kill
black.
Bill?
Kill Bill Volume 1. Well done,
Bill
you got
Volume
one.
1,
All right,
yeah.
that's the end of the Four Favorites game.
What was the fourth? Due date, obviously.
Due date.
Yes.
Congrats, Yusuf. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of Boy Party. It's your due date. We'll be back next week with more great partying. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you,
Robert Downey
Lucian.
and Zach Galifianakis. And visit boypartypod.com. Follow Boy Party Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.